How's it going, guys? Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Phil Talk Sports Podcast. On today's episode, my guest is Michael Klein. Mike used to terrorize offenses as a linebacker for New Smyrna Beach High School and then later at the collegiate ranks at Jacksonville University. Nowadays, he's helping to teach the next generation how to do the same as a defensive coordinator at Spruce Creek High School. We talk about Mike's playing career and his transition into coaching and a bunch of other cool stories in between. So thanks for clicking on. Hope you enjoy the episode. All right, joining me on the show today, Coach Mike Klein. How's it going, man? Thanks for taking the time to do this.
Hey, you know it, Phil. It's my pleasure. I'm glad to be here, man. Everything is going great on my end. How are you doing, bud?
Pretty good. Just finished Thanksgiving, and now we're gearing right up into Christmas. So hopefully 2020 ends a little better than it started,
True. No kidding there.
So there's a few places we can start here. I figure we'll go with the most recent thing. Your guys' Spruce Creek's football season ended recently. Winning record, first playoff win for the school in a long time. Obviously, the added challenges of COVID. This is your second year at Creek. What were the added challenges? I'm sure there was plenty of the COVID season, but at least it was completed.
Oh, man, we are very blessed. We are very fortunate to have had a season. I think I saw today, I was reading an article where they said that I think there were at least 13 states. I could be wrong there, but I think I read about 13 states that did not have any high school athletics this fall season. So we were very blessed to get a season in. We were very fortunate that we ended up getting the full 8 weeks of the regular season in. We never had to pause or miss anything because of COVID. The challenges were definitely there, and I applaud all of the coaches and players and administration involved in the whole scenario because there were definitely a lot of challenges, and people really showed their commitment to their teams and just a lot of flexibility to be able to kind of roll with things as guidelines changed, or as things came up or games were canceled. Everybody did a great job with that, and it was definitely a challenging season, though. I mean. Really, it all starts with, for us, the off season because, COVID really started to hit the United States and become a thing. Really for us as we were going into spring break, which is right there at the very beginning of March. And when we left for spring break, our students never came back for the rest of that year. And that's really, we were in the midst of a great off season program that we were running here. Our guys were killing it. They were putting in the work. We had, guys were averaging about 3 pounds of lean muscle every month. They were adding on about 3 pounds of lean muscle to their bodies. Guys were getting, adding about 10 to 20 pounds to each of their lifts. I mean, they were crushing it. And that was probably one of the toughest things, is that we had to kind of end that because we were rolling in the off season. The guys were doing a heck of a job. Everybody was bought in. And so, for me, I thought the biggest challenge was that off season and just the unpredictability of it. When it all started, I remember I started having some, I try to keep in touch with the players or do some Zoom meetings or things like that. And it was really just a wait and see. We didn't know what was going to happen. We didn't know when we were coming back to school, what we were going to be able to do, not do. And so it was really, coaches and players, we were all kind of in the same boat at the beginning of all this. And we were all just, trying to keep in touch and keep, up to date with everybody, make sure that everybody was okay, and just kind of keep everybody calm, saying, listen, I think things are going to get better. Just hang tight, do what you can to stay safe, stay sane, keep your grades up, try to keep yourself in shape, and we will eventually get back to it. And then when we finally did, obviously a lot of added guidelines such as temperature checks and numbers of player groupings and coaches to go with that, and kind of putting all those things in an order. But like I said earlier, the administration here at Creek and the rest of the coaching staff and parents and players and the whole Creek family did an awesome job over the summer of meeting those guidelines and putting a good summer work in. And, I thought as far as it could have been done, I thought that we did as good of a job as we could have. And our guys played really well this season, and for a shortened season, like I said, I feel very blessed for our guys, for our players. I'm very happy, especially for the seniors, that they got an opportunity to go out and play this year, and that's really what we were looking for. I feel bad for the spring sports of last year. They didn't get to finish out. They were canceled and they didn't get to finish, and we were afforded that opportunity. So extremely blessed, Phil, to be in the situation that we were. go to the second round of the playoffs, have a full season, play great ball. And it was a very enjoyable time for us all, even with all of the COVID craziness.
I'm sure you mentioned the off season. No matter how positive you try to keep a spin on it, I'm sure it was difficult to, with the uncertainty to stay positive and to stay focused because, some people are more negative than other. I do feel that in this Volusia Flagler football landscape area, we were pretty lucky. I know a couple games got switched around, covering New Smyrna. They had a opponent switch late in the year. But overall, like you said, I think we're pretty lucky that we finished about as clean as we could. Obviously, the 8-game season instead of the normal 10 helped with that. Everybody making the playoffs in a sense, but the bracket made a lot of sense. So, like you said, you made it to the second round of the playoffs. That's somewhere Creek has not been for a while. So, how did it feel to get that first playoff win in a long time for the program after that whole crazy season?
Man, it was really good, Phil. It was different. It was different because your typical season, you have your conference, your district games, and those are usually those are what's going to determine what happens from there. And so in a normal season, you're gonna have your non-district games and your district games, and your district games obviously carry an extreme weight of importance because if you don't win enough district games, your chances of making it within your district are very slim. This year, obviously, being very different, and the fact that everyone knew where they sat. The playoff brackets were released by about the fourth week of the season, and everybody kind of knew where they were. And so we really just we changed our attitude a little bit this year because of that. We told our players, you control what you can control, and that's all you can do. And really take each game and each week as an opportunity to get better until that playoff time comes. And our guys did a great job of that. They came to prepare themselves every week. And it was a great feeling around here. I know that to be able to not only go to the second round of the playoffs, but to be able to host a game was really awesome. To be able to have a playoff game at home where our home fans were able to come and watch the work that their sons put in, every day, just about every day of the year, to be honest with you, between the off season and then when you get in season. So it was really a great feeling to be able to host that last playoff game. Obviously didn't go the exact way we wanted it to. But we lost to a tough opponent, and that's how the playoffs are. You got to be on point. You got to play your best games, in order to win. It's really about who makes the less mistakes. And when you're playing teams like that in the playoffs, those are all teams that if you do make a little mistake, those turn into points, versus, maybe a little bit less field position or something like that. So, it was a great feeling around here, Phil. I know that our guys were excited, and it really felt like the work that they had put in, the struggle that they had endured, it all kind of came to pay off at the end, and we were able to really put our best foot forward and put our team out there and show what we could do. So it was a great feeling around here for sure.
So I think it's safe to assume, next year, while things might not be completely back to normal, you got to feel like you can accomplish anything after getting through, this year the way that you guys did. So it's definitely something to be proud of for really this whole area that they're able to complete the season. But to make the run you guys did, I never thought I'd be cheering for Creek in a game, but you guys made it hard not to do that. So that was pretty awesome. Let's rewind just for a minute back to February before the world went crazy. Everyone's gearing up, for the Super Bowl, and there's a little more rooting interest this past year because we had one of our own, Raheem Moser,
yes, we did.
Playing in the Super Bowl. So that regardless of what team you were rooting for, as an Eagles fan, I kind of like Andy Reid being in that spot, so it was hard to pick who I wanted to cheer for. But during an interview, he was asked, what's the hardest you've ever been hit and who was it by? And Raheem mentioned that it was you in high school. So I'm sure your Facebook blew up on that. You kind of became a viral sensation overnight. I remember seeing the meme about, maybe the Chiefs need to go sign Michael Klein before the Super Bowl and whatever. So how was that whole thing for you? I'm sure that was something you didn't expect.
Oh, man, that was a lot of fun, Phil. When that all happened, that was a lot of fun. Becoming a meme is not something that you ever foresee in your future. And I'm just glad that it wasn't a meme, like a Karen meme or something like that, where everybody was making fun of me, So it was an awesome time, man. It was a lot of excitement. It was really funny. Raheem, awesome guy, awesome football player, just a great person. And so just to see a local, a New Smyrna guy, a friend, to go and do that and be successful and to battle on and to have the success now that he's had in the NFL is awesome. And to see him on the highest stage like that, I think everybody felt a lot of pride in that. Everybody's very proud to see him, and it couldn't happen to a better man. I mean, he's an awesome guy. And but that was a lot of fun, man. My Facebook sure did blow up. I'm not a huge on Facebook, but I remember I'd log in at times and I'd have just a million notifications all over the place of this and that. And when I saw a couple of friends brought the video to my attention, and I almost died laughing. But I gotta say, man, I'm glad Raheem gave me the shout out. It was pretty awesome, and it's really cool, man, to see your friends and your colleagues and your teammates go on and do great things. And it's just cool to be a part of that somewhere, even how small of a part it may be, it's just really cool to be a part of that,
So prior to that, or even since, did you guys keep in touch, or some of their teammates from back in the day? Do you guys stay in touch a bit?
I stay in touch with quite a few, probably not as much as what I would like to, but I've definitely kept in touch with Raheem. I'll reach out every once in a while, and just to check in, see how it's going, kind of thing. That's the one thing I will say about football, and kind of in my life in general, because my life has kind of followed around football quite a bit, and the bond that you make with those guys is awesome. To be able to have teammates and friends like that is awesome, and it's one of those things where you might not see somebody for a long time. You might not talk to somebody for a long time, but when you finally get to meet back up with a teammate or things like that, it's like time never went by. It's almost like you're right back there to where you were when you guys were on the same team. And so, it's cool to be able to have that, and that, team for life, man. I mean, that's really how it is in the game of football, just the memories you make and the struggles you go through. Everybody cares about each other. And I will say that off of that team there at New Smyrna, man, all those guys, I mean, most all of them in some way, shape, or form, I keep in some kind of contact with, and that's really a testament to team, and really a testament, I think, to the sport overall. One of the reasons, one of my favorite sports, just because I think it does make some tight bonds that last for a lifetime, whether they were your best friend or they, or you didn't hang out a lot, all the time outside of football, but
Right.
Football brings people together from all walks of life, and it creates a bond that's just, it's tight and it's for life, man. And it's really awesome. Like I said, to be able to see some former teammates and be able to catch up with them and see what they're doing in life now, and we always go back and reminisce about the good old days, of course.
And I think there's just something too about New Smyrna where even when people leave, they end up, getting pulled back to this area where they grew up. There's a lot of pride in this area, so that's awesome to hear that you keep in touch with some of the guys. So back in those high school days, I remember I think it was senior year, you guys won the district, and I don't know if I mentioned this. I was not a player, obviously. I was a band kid, so I was at every game. So I have a lot of memories of watching you guys play and stuff. So what's if you had to, maybe do one or two good memories, what's the high points of your high school career?
Oh man, high points to the high school career. Whew. That whole senior season, man, was an amazing experience for me and the team. I think that's kind of when if you remember, Phil, we had our freshman year, when we played freshman football together, we went undefeated that year, and we really felt like we had something special. And we had a coaching change, and a lot of upperclassmen ended up leaving New Smyrna during that coaching change time. And the one thing I will say is nobody in our grade left. Nobody in our grade jumped ship. Nobody left, and everybody kind of stayed together. And all those guys leaving gave a lot of us guys a chance who, as sophomores, should probably have never touched the field. But we ended up playing a lot, and we got a lot of experience together. We took a lot of beatings together. But that really brought us closer to kind of the grand finale of our team being in my senior year, when my class, when we all became seniors and we all kind of went through that together. Our sophomore year, we won 1 game. Our junior year, we won 2 games, and but then that senior year to make it to the 3rd round and then to lose to the eventual state champions. And in my opinion, one of the best high school football teams in the nation that year, to Palm Beach Gardens Dwyer, it was that whole season, man. It was just awesome. You know, from the coaches that we had defensively, Coach Greg Fowler, who I still stay in contact with to this day. He really helped me out a lot and kind of helping me find direction in life and becoming the man that I am today. And then just those experiences with those guys that whole senior year, man, that whole year is really unforgettable to me. Like I can just remember all the ups and the downs and just all the things that happened, the trials, tribulations, and ultimately the success, you know. And I just remember at the end of that last game, it was like, you know, we weren't the better team that night. The better team won. But we knew that we had given everything we had, and it felt kind of like a 4 years in the making deal, you know, where we kind of all set out together as freshmen and we all stuck together, even through the lowest of lows to make it to, you know, a place where we felt like we'd finally kind of earned our respect and done something special. So that whole year, man, I can't pinpoint one moment out of that. That whole year for me was amazing, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a really unique situation. Normally in high school programs or even college, there's, you know, you have your upperclassmen and the other guys come along gradually. You guys didn't really have that chance. It was baptism by fire, like you said, you know, freshmen, sophomores playing and stuff. So,
and we got burned. We got burned a little bit, Phil.
Yeah, that's true. But no, for you guys to finish out your careers like that, obviously, you know, you and so many other the guys that you know, even being a band kid, you guys are always really cool to me. So it was nice to see you guys get to get that experience, and you guys earned it. Like it's a story you don't normally see, building up a high school program like that, you know.
And I'll tell you that whole class, man. I think in the whole school, it's funny when I talk to other people. I think what we had there was really unique, and I think everybody in that class, I mean, got along. I mean, we were one of the closer classes. I mean, the most you know, different walks of life, different personalities. But man, I mean, I still see people from that class all around, you know, all over the place. And everybody's just so nice to each other, so helpful to each other, respectful to each other. That class, man, that was a lot of fun to be a part of. And, you know, I still brag on it all the time because I tell people, you know, our whole class from A to Z, I mean, it seemed like everybody really got along, respected each other, you know, and it was an awesome time. It was an awesome time.
Definitely something we'd like to see more people have that same mentality now.
Yeah.
And maybe it was the whole, you know, the New Smyrna, the new school being built. We were the first group to go all the way through, you know, all 4 years at the new campus. But, you know, something about that graduating class, you know, it wasn't just blowing smoke when we were saying we were the best that ever been, right? I mean, that's
ever been, man.
thing.
We were definitely a close class, man. You can see it, you know, whenever something happens in the community and we end up getting together, you see that, you know, you really see that. You see everybody come back together, and it's just awesome to see, awesome to be a part of. You know, that whole 2010 class in New Smyrna, man, that's our family.
For sure. What jersey number were you in high school?
In high school, I was 44, man. I tried to keep the tradition alive at New Smyrna for a long time. It seemed like their Mike linebacker always wore 44. You know, it was younger brother Aaron McCauley before me, and it was his older brother Joseph McCauley before that, and Pat Hoffman. I mean, that list goes on. There were a lot of guys that were 44, and that was just kind of the thing to do for my position at the time. So I rocked 44. Once I got onto once I was a junior and senior year, I rocked that 44. And that was, you know, took a lot of pride in that. But yeah, I was a 44 in high school. Got on into college my first year. When you're a freshman, you know, that's the thing in the recruiting business. They always say, oh yeah, we'll get you this, we'll get you that, you know, but you show up as a freshman and you get what you get.
Sure, yeah.
and you're happy about it, you know? So I was 48 that freshman year. And then actually the rest of my time when I went and played at Jacksonville University, I wore number 11. And that was kind of a twofold decision there. One, my kind of a mentor for me was a senior my freshman year at Jacksonville. Will Perry wore number 11 there. And then also one of my best friends, Brandon Mason, wore number 11 in high school.
Right.
And you know, Brandon, obviously, when we were juniors, had an injury to his neck that didn't allow him to play anymore. So that was kind of, you know, for me, when I moved on into there, I really wanted to kind of carry that number on and try to do something special there as well. But yeah, man, 44 in high school, baby. Right. That was the thing to be at New Smyrna at the time. I don't think it means anything anymore.
Right. Yeah. No. Shout out to Brandon though. That's another good dude, part of that class. And I always ask the number question because some people could care less. They put on whatever number. They change numbers every year. But when you know, there's value to a number for a guy, I always like to hear that story. So that's pretty cool how you're able to honor Brandon in college like that.
Yeah, man, a lot of value to it, and I always tell guys, no matter what, because guys now are really big on numbers, and I always tell them, you got to make that number what it is. Even my freshman year at Jacksonville University, I wore 48, and I thought, not my top pick, probably not even my top 10,
Right.
but you make that number known.
Yep.
You make that number known, no matter who, no matter what it is. The number doesn't make the player. The player makes that number. But yeah, man, I was very excited when number 11 came open when I was in college, and they allowed me to go ahead and carry that number because, like I said, it meant a lot to me in a couple of different ways.
Quick side note, what do you think about guys wearing 0 now in college? Like, I think it's pretty cool. This is the first year you're allowed to do it. I don't know if that'll ever trickle down into high school, but it's neat to see programs make different traditions for the number 0. I kind of like it.
I'm all about it, man. Why not? And it's fun for the kids, man. To be honest, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's all about these young men, especially in the college game. Most of those guys aren't going on to sign NFL contracts. So, it should be an enjoyable time. It should be one of the best times of their life. And it's just more fun, more power to them. Why not? Why not? It's not hurting nobody. It's just like nowadays they let multiple guys wear the same numbers as long as they're on the field at the same time,
Right.
And why not? It's not causing any issues for the game itself, and it's just, like I said, I think it's a little more fun for the players. And it's always funny, that number 0, to see who's wearing it this year, because that could be anything from a 340-pound nose tackle to a stud receiver. You don't know what you're going to see wearing that number. So
right.
I'm all about it, man. Why not?
I think it's a fun little twist, and I'm sure it's going to catch on at different places to mean different things even. So you mentioned how you played at Jacksonville. You have any good stories from there? And maybe your whole process on recruiting, I'm sure they weren't the only ones in play. What made you pick Jacksonville? And even prior to senior year, what would have been your dream school if everything had worked out? What were you a fan of growing up?
Oh, man. So I would probably say my dream school maybe at that time. And that's the thing, man. I've got a few schools that I would love to go to. I would say maybe right at that time when I was a senior in high school, if I could have went and played for the Badgers at Madison and Wisconsin, that probably would have been what I would have been most happy about, just because I got a lot of family up there. And, my dad's a big-time Badger fan, and I got a bunch of family up there. I always thought that would be really cool, just because it would be kind of, it'd be kind of a pride thing, for my family. I knew that would be a really awesome thing for them. And the Badgers are always kind of recruiting guys that were kind of similar. They always get guys that maybe they're not the top tier of the list, but they're always guys that show up and work hard, and they seem to beat people all the time. So probably at that time, I would say I would have loved to go to Wisconsin. I tried to send tapes there all the time. But, for me, I was a little bit maybe undersized and maybe a step slow for some of the bigger schools. And so for me, my recruiting out of high school was a lot of Division I AA at the time. FCS now is what they call it. And, so I had a lot of schools in the Southeast. I know Presbyterian, Virginia Military Institute, Tennessee State. I had some different people talking to me. I had a school up in New York, Stony Brook, who would offer me. And really what it came down to with JU is, I loved my visit. When I went there, I loved my visit. And I'm a Florida boy, man. I was born and raised right in this area. I'm born in Halifax Hospital in Daytona, man. I'm a Florida guy. And so I just enjoy the state, man. I enjoy being in Florida. I enjoy being close to home. And so that was a part of my decision. But I think the biggest part was when I got to take a visit there and get to meet the coaches, Coach Odom, who was my defensive coordinator for my 4.5 years there, and who then became my boss when he took over the head job at Tusculum University, and I went and coached with him there. Kerwin Bell was the head coach at Jacksonville University, and if you ever meet Kerwin, he is as sharp as it comes when it comes to football coaches, and he's an awesome guy. And I loved him. And there were some great coaches on the staff. Ernie Mills was our wide receiver coach there at the time. There were some really awesome guys on the staff. Ernie Logan, a 13-year NFL veteran. They had a lot of guys on staff who I just thought were awesome coaches. You know, it was almost one of those situations like, what are these guys doing at this little school?
Right.
You know, and to hear the vision that they had for Jacksonville University at the time, it's almost sad now thinking about it, because Kerwin's vision was for us to kind of win games, have success, rise the ranks, maybe jump a division higher, and really start something special. And we did that. I mean, we didn't make the jump, but we won games, we won championships, we really turned things around there. And, you know, it's just sad. I say it's sad now because administration just wasn't quite on the same page, I don't think. And Jacksonville University doesn't even have a football team anymore. But just being at that small school, man, getting to know those guys, it was a family atmosphere. The coaching staff was amazing. And man, I wouldn't trade those years or that place for anything else, man. It was a great time in my life. And I mean, I owe everything to that time, just who I am now. You know, a lot of the friends that I met, the people I have in my life now, and kind of the path. I could not tell you that I would be where I am now if I did not go there, you know. And so it really led to a lot of things for me. And I'm very happy that's where I ended up going.
That was actually, you jumped into what was going to be the next question. I've had the opportunity recently to work for Stetson, so I've got a little more used to that conference and that league, and hearing the news about Jacksonville, that was one of the other reasons I was thinking of having it on there. Hopefully it's more like the UAB situation where maybe they drop football and it comes back in a few years, because that's definitely a shame. I can say no one at Stetson or the surrounding teams were happy to hear that, obviously. So hopefully they do get Dolphins football back sometime sooner than later. So hopefully.
It would be great, Phil. Like I said, I think it might take a change in leadership there, maybe somebody with a different vision. I just don't think with the people they have there now, maybe it's a cost analysis, and maybe it just didn't make the cut. But that just hurts me to hear that, because you know, the game of football, I think when you look at benefit costs, I think there's a lot of things that go into those young men's lives that you can't analyze that, you know, and you can't measure that with a dollar amount. So, you know, it's tough. I know me and all the rest of my Dolphin brothers, you know, we were really disappointed to hear that. But, you know, there's always hope. There's always hope. Maybe down the road someday they'll give me a call and want me to start it back up. I would love to, Jacksonville University. So if you're watching, anytime.
You'd be the guy to get it going too, so that you would definitely be the person they need to call. So you graduate there. You said 4 years playing, and you're getting into coaching, which is obviously something you've always wanted to do. And you come right back home, defensive coordinator, New Smyrna Beach. What did that mean to you to be in that situation? While doing research before this, I found an article when you took the job, and the headline was "Klein returns to New Smyrna before anybody could miss him." And I thought, what a dig of a headline. But the article itself was actually really good.
Right,
So how did it?
Right? You kind of got me.
Yeah, I was like, that's not how you handle that. But the article itself was very good. So how did it feel to come back home before anybody could miss you?
Man, it was awesome, Phil. It was awesome because I can honestly say that, man, back in the day when I was sitting in the classroom at New Smyrna Beach High School as a student, we'd always joke around, and you know, I would always say things like, man, you know, I think I'll just come back, you know, and be the DC here, maybe take over as a head coach, you know, and then maybe just run this program and do something like that. It was always something that I kind of joked about, but wasn't really joking, you know. I mean, I realized that football, once I got to be a senior and I kind of was looking, you know, people always tell you in that time of your life, you need to find who you're going to be and what you're going to do the rest of your life. And for me, man, I just knew I loved being around football. And I had just known how much it had done for me. And I knew that if I could, that's what I wanted to do the rest of my life. Obviously, playing pro was my number one goal, and that was my number one choice on avenues. But after that, it was getting right into coaching. And I used to always kind of joke around about coming back to New Smyrna. And it's really funny that was my first job. And it's funny how it worked out. I would always come back, Phil, during when I was enrolled at Jacksonville University during the spring. Well, I guess – in college, we were done with the spring semester. You know, we typically would finish January, February, March, April, you know, probably the end of April. And so May, we would be off for college. But in high school, that's about the time they start up spring football.
Right.
So I would always come back. And at the time, Lance Jenkins was the head coach there, and I knew Lance pretty well. And so I would always come back in the spring, and he would give me a position to coach, and he would basically give me a good run at the defense, and and he would let me kind of go out there and coach those guys up every spring. And I'm really thankful that I got to do that. And that's kind of where I first decided this is definitely something that I think I would like to do. And so when I finally did graduate, it was funny. The guy that had just taken over New Smyrna was Kevin Hubbard. Yep. And Hubbard was actually a GA, a graduate assistant coach at Jacksonville University with my freshman year. And so I had already kind of known the guy. And I was training at the time. I had just gotten done with I did an NFL combine down at the Dolphins facility. And I was training at the time, and I was hoping to try to get a shot in something, whether, any league, anything. Right. I'd take anything at that point. I was just training and trying to get some kind of shot. And I remember he gave me a phone call. I was in the middle of a workout, and I saw it was Hubbard calling. So I went ahead and took it. And he said, hey, hey, Klein, would you be interested in coming and coaching here? And I was kind of jacked up. I didn't quite know what to say because I was in the middle of training and I was still kind of trying to be a player. Mm-hmm. But I knew that coaching is probably where I was going to end up. And I wasn't quite sure. And the thing kind of put me over the edge. I was like, hey, Coach Hub, I know I don't have a ton of experience in coaching yet, but the kind of guy that I am, would you be willing to maybe give me a coordinating position on the defense and let me kind of run some things and do some things with that? And he was very receptive to that and told me that would be a great plan if I was interested. And so that kind of tipped the scales. And that's kind of the time that I decided, I'm going to hang up the cleats and pick up the whistle, and I'm going to get my start in that. And so that was my first season of coaching, was back at the alma mater at New Smyrna Beach High School. And it was a fun year, man. It was a lot of fun. We did a great job there, and I got to meet some awesome guys through that, and it really got my feet wet into the profession. I wasn't there long because it turns out after that season was over, then it was kind of the next step, got another phone call. And that's kind of then how the whole coaching thing kind of got started. But man, what an awesome way to start my whole coaching career out at the same place that got me started as a player at New Smyrna Beach High School. I thought it was really awesome, man.
You mentioned Coach Jenkins. That's actually who gave me the opportunity to do the coach's film for New Smyrna. So he's done a lot of good things for both of us, I guess. So I believe he's athletic director at DeLand now, if I have that correct.
So yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Good to.
I try to stay in touch with old Lance Jenkins quite a bit, man. He's an awesome guy. He's an awesome coach. I'm sure he probably, just talking to him, I know he probably gets he loves being the AD over there, but I'm sure he would love to go out there and coach through some drills every once in a while. So I try to get around with him every once in a while, see if we could talk ball every now and then. I try to keep in touch. He's a great guy over there doing good things at DeLand as well.
And he's lucky to have a good head coach over there. Steve Allen, I've had the fortune of meeting. We used to do a Volusia High School highlight show at the college, Daytona State, and he was the host for a year that he wasn't coaching. So I got to meet him as well, and he's awesome. Definitely a good program. Love that guy.
Yeah.
So now that you made the transition from player to coach, who is in your playing days? We all have our favorite players. Then you have players that you learn from. Who was someone that in your playing days, I want to play like this guy? And then now that you're the coach, who is someone that you tell your linebackers and your defensive players, go watch this guy because he does everything the right way?
That's a great question, man. Back in the day, it's kind of funny how it kind of changes, as you go, as you kind of grow, it kind of changes. I remember as a young high school player, man, Ray Lewis was the guy.
Sure.
Okay. Ray Lewis, in my mind at that time, man, Ray Lewis was the guy that was the guy I wanted to emulate. He was silent on the sideline and he was hitting folks and he was letting them know about it, And so he was a big time. I would watch a ton of him run around out there playing ball. Even before that, man, my dad's a big football guy. And so I grew up watching, a lot of 85 Bears stuff,
Okay.
Where I'd watch Singletary out there running around and that whole crew, and so I was lucky. I kind of grew up when I first kind of got into it. He really kind of first showed me the OGs, if you will,
Sure.
The kind of classic football players in the NFL. And some of the older era guys. And that's really what kind of got me started. Those are some guys that, kids nowadays, sometimes I bring up names like, who the heck's Dick Butkus,
Yeah. Doesn't that make you mad too when you hear that?
It heats me up. I'm like, come on, guys, I got to bring you in here for a history lesson.
Right. Yep.
So, that's kind of where I started back with those. And then as I was a young high school player, man, Ray Lewis was big time. I actually wore 52 as a freshman in high school because Ray Lewis was that guy. And then as I got, into kind of my senior year, I started watching a lot more college football.
Mm-hmm.
Because that was kind of the next step for me. That's where
Sure.
I wanted to get, that's where I wanted to get. And I really started looking at guys that, not even sometimes big name guys, but just guys in college that I thought were doing it well and were doing it with maybe similar skill attributes to me. That's kind of when I really started getting real as far as, okay, this is something I want to do. What do I need to do to make it? And then I kind of really started looking at the game like that. And then I started watching players that, they were just good at at that position. And I thought they were similar as far as size and speed to me,
Mm-hmm.
So I would watch a lot of guys at that time, guys that, really didn't become much names as far as that, not household names at all. But I would watch a lot of guys that I thought were similar to me. And I would just kind of say, what are these guys doing with a similar skill set to me? Yet they're having success. What is it that makes them different? And that's really what I started getting into once I got to there. And then, once I got into college, it was kind of the same thing, but now I'd start looking at NFL guys, and saying, okay, these guys that are kind of at this height and weight with maybe this speed, what are they doing? What are they doing to be successful? And so I went from kind of glorifying guys and kind of looking at guys as like, oh man, like that's the guy I want to be. And then I just really started picking apart individual pieces of people's games, I guess. I'd really kind of I just started looking at it as a way for me to get better. And I really bought into watching film and stuff like that. And I would just watch players, man. I would just watch linebackers all the time that I thought, I wouldn't watch the guy that could run a 4.4 because that wasn't me.
Sure.
I couldn't do what he's doing just off his speed alone. So I would try to watch guys, like I said, that were very similar to me. And I would try to just mimic my game off of them as much as I could,
Who's somebody now that you might have your kids like, check this guy out because this is who you want to be. And I can see it being kind of different player to player, but just as a all-encompassing person.
Definitely player to player, a lot different, definitely a lot different. Guys that I always, one guy that I was really big on, he's not in the league now, but when I first kind of got into it, man, I would always have guys watch, I started out as a linebacker guy.
Yep.
So when I first got into it, man, Patrick Willis, I always tell guys, watch Patrick Willis because
Right.
He was an all-around ball player, But I do even the same thing now to guys. I'll look at our players and I will give them guys to watch
Mm-hmm.
based kind of off of who they are,
Right.
So if I have a kid who, he's kind of a field general out there, a good-sized kid, strong, athletic, maybe not top end, super high speed, but real smart guy or something like that, linebacker, I'd be like, hey, watch Luke Kuechly and see what he's doing that's separating him from the people around him, It all depends. Definitely, it's player to player. And I really try, I don't try to just say one guy because I know guys are so different nowadays that I'll sit there and I think it gives the kids purpose too, to show them somebody who's as close as possible to them.
Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of times, I'll talk to a D lineman and he's watching, Khalil Mack or somebody and, well, you're never going to maybe be at that height or that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I might give him, so if I'm talking to a D end and maybe he's not quite as tall, well, I'll say, hey, throw on some of this, Doomerville film or throw on some of this Dwight Freeney, and let's look at some of these guys because these guys are your height and they're doing it at the highest level. And I try to do it that way, Phil, and the kids, just like I did when I was a player myself, they really buy into that and they really start watching that. And it's a really useful tool, but it's very inspiring, man, to see guys that, physically are similar to you.
Yeah.
And hey, this guy can do it, and it gives you a reason to say, no reason I can't do it, and I try to tell kids that all the time. There's a possibility of anyone making it. There's a possibility of anyone making it in the NFL or any business venture or anything that you want to be. That possibility of making it is there, but you might have to work harder than others, and your work might be different than others. But you just got to be willing to put that work in, and if you do, man, anything is possible, man. Anything is possible.
I always go with the moniker, and my limited playing time is when you have half the talent, you got to put in twice the work. And the limited time that I was able to play any type of organized football, I taught myself how to long snap because it got me on the field.
Mm-hmm.
So just whatever gets you on the grass, I guess. So it's
That's
definitely
right, man.
when it's
That's right.
player to player, it makes sense to just individualize it like that.
Player to player, and everyone's got a little bit different tools. Everyone's skill set's a little different. Everyone's tools are a little different. So I really, like I said, I really go through a broad spectrum of guys, and I just try to show them, I want them to maximize their potential, and everybody's a little bit different in that regard. But as long as we can get them to where they can be, I think that it's a success.
So, Mike, you've been awesome for doing this. I want to be respectful of your time. I got one last question for it ends. What's the ultimate goal for you? Some people love coaching at the high school level because they get the kids at an age that it's really molds who they are. Some people obviously like college and then aim for the shield of the NFL. And if you could write your storybook ending, do you want to run a high school program? Do you want to be a NFL position coach? What would be the bullseye for you?
That has changed. That answer has changed for me. So for me, Phil, football was just a fun game, right? And then as it started becoming more serious, my ultimate goal was to play in the NFL. And that was kind of the ultimate goal I always had. I never even had coaching goals for the longest, until I kind of started to get into coaching. But my goal was to play in the NFL. Mm-hmm. And, just like I'm sure a lot of young men, have that similar goal. And I didn't quite reach that goal. And so for me, that was the big thing. That was the thing that I might have put too many eggs into that basket. But I wanted to be able to look back and say, I did everything I could. I don't regret anything. I don't feel like I missed anything. I feel like I did everything I can. And I always said, if I could say that at the end of it, then I would be happy. And right. So when my playing time was done, then it was kind of on to the next thing. And then I got into coaching. And once I kind of got my feet wet in coaching, I was like, man, I'd like to get into the college game, try to see some things, really work my way up the ranks as you see everybody do. And as I got into the college game, and I was very fortunate at the time, I didn't have to go into a graduate assistant, type position. I got right into being a position coach right away. And after a couple years of that, I got promoted to defensive coordinator there. And at the time, I was one of the younger defensive coordinators in the country at all levels, and I felt really good about that. But what I realized for me, and this is different for everybody, but for me, the college game was awesome, but college is very much a business. And as a college football coach, you have your team goals and you have your player goals. But you also have to have a lot of personal goals, and you're always kind of trying to rise the rank, and you want to get to, a better position. You want to maybe make a little more money for your family, and, the things that you try to do in any profession. You want to be the best that you can be. And while I was in college, coaching in college, I kind of started to see that for me, the ultimate goal for me as a football coach was, one, that I just enjoyed doing it. Mm-hmm. And two, for me, what I wanted to do was to use the game to help people how I felt the game had helped me. I mean, in my opinion, this is the best game that you can play. And it's done a lot for a lot of people, including myself. And I always felt like once I got into it, I kind of saw how things were in the business world of college football. And don't get me wrong, I loved the intensity. I loved the work hours. It was nothing like that. It was just in my heart. I wanted to be able to give back to young men the same way that I felt the game had gave back to me. And so I started, after I had done a few years in coaching in college level, I started kind of looking back into high school. And that's, for me, Phil, right now, I can honestly say that my goal is to just try to help as many young men as possible in achieving their goals and becoming great young men who eventually go on to be great fathers and husbands and be able to run their household and be really contributing positive members to society, man, because I learned that you can be one of those people that looks around and says, oh, well, these kids nowadays, or whatever, or you can be one of the people that does something about it. And for me, I felt like with all my skill set being in coaching and in football and what I had, I felt like football was a great realm that I could do that. And I could try to have a positive impact and really try to help young men, like I said, in the way that the game and coaches previously had helped me. And so I could honestly, I could stay at the position I'm at right now. I could stay at this the rest of my life. I'm very happy where I am, not saying that I will, but, I'm not looking to do anything more right now than just try to be able to do as much as I can for these young men, man. I mean, I love it. And being here at Spruce Creek now, it's a great opportunity because it's a large school. Yep. I get to see a lot of young men, within the program. We got over 100 kids within the whole program. And working with Coach Price is great. I get to do a lot of the things that I want to do. In the strength and conditioning aspect and then in coaching as well. And, so it's a great place where I'm at. Getting to work with great people, man, I've learned is one of the most important things you can do because you spend a lot of time in it. And if you're not doing it with people that you love, people you care about, and people that all kind of believe the same things as you, then it's not as fun and you're not going to get done what you want to get done. So I will say that right now I'm in a great spot. And, fate will take me wherever it does, but, that'll all happen naturally and, God willing, it'll be what it is, but I just want to be able to do what I can and help as many of these young men as I can in as much of a positive way as possible, man. It's really, I every day just getting to be around these guys, it is a blessing to me, man. I just really enjoy it.
Well, man, your journey from player to coach has been a great one to watch from afar. I'm glad we were able to reconnect like this. And
it's awesome.
I appreciate your time, man, and just best of luck with everything in the future. Hopefully our paths cross again. Maybe I can have you on after you guys win state or something. Wouldn't that be cool?
That would be awesome, Phil. And I'm not going to stop trying to get you as well out of that black and red and maybe get you into the orange and black. We'll see.
We'll talk after this. We'll see what we can do. All right. Mike Klein, thanks, Coach. And thank you guys for listening and watching. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. This has been Phil Talk Sports. Thanks a lot, Mike. Have a good, happy holidays, man.
Hey, thank you, Phil, man. Stay blessed, brother. I appreciate it.